When Sonia Barlow decided to take the plunge into entrepreneurship, she didn't know the first thing about starting or running a business, despite having a fancy business degree. She was well versed in theory, but in practice, well, not so much. But instead of worrying over business plans and tax returns, Sonia just started winging it. Strategically winging it, that is. For her, strategically winging it was about saying yes to as many opportunities as she could, regardless of whether she felt completely prepared for them. This strategic winging enabled Sonia to start her business, deliver 2 TED Talks within 6 months, and even write a book. In fact, these blinks are about that very book. Hi, I'm Julia from Blinkist, and in these blinks, we'll go over Unprepared to Entrepreneur by Sonia Barlow and see how you too can start a business from scratch, regardless of how prepared you feel right now. Spring 2018. Sonia had planned absolutely everything for this brunch, from what she would wear to what she would order, and even to exactly which chair she'd sit in at this restaurant. It was the day of the soft launch of her business, and she'd spent 3 weeks considering and reconsidering every detail. When she arrived, she ordered a breakfast, a coffee, and an orange juice, and then she waited. And waited. And waited until 45 minutes had passed and the waitress had to ask for the table back. The 12 RSVPs she had been expecting had turned into 12 no-shows. In short, her very first experience launching a business had ended in tears and failure. Like-minded females, the organization was supposed to have been launched at that brunch, was Sonia's plan to solve a personal problem. At that time, she was a young, lonely, stressed professional trying to climb the corporate ladder in the tech industry. She felt like she didn't have any allies, despite living in busy metropolitan London, and she really wanted that community she was missing. Sonia didn't give up, despite this embarrassing failure. Okay, well, she might have been so ashamed that she did fib a little and announced to the like-minded females LinkedIn group that 7 people did show up to the brunch. After that, she hosted another 2 brunches. It wasn't until the 3rd attempt that someone actually showed up, and that's all it took to break the ice. Over the next weeks and months, the LMF community continued to grow and become more active both on and offline. Companies began contacting Sonia to help them create career-building communities. She received opportunities to speak in public about her story. Eventually, her LinkedIn group transformed into a limited company. In many ways, Sonia fell into entrepreneurship by accident. She didn't exactly have a starting plan. Instead, she followed a few basic, fundamental steps that she used to create, test, and launch her business. We're going to get into those in just a moment, but before we do, let's take a few seconds to stop and think about what brought you here to listen to these blinks in the first place. How's everything going today? Are there any vital elements or resources you're missing? What do you want for your life in the next 12 months? Don't get too bogged down on the details. Whatever vision you have is good enough to get started. Welcome to entrepreneurship. Starting a business is never a smooth process. Yet, business schools will teach students that they need to have fully fleshed out business plans before they can even think about revving their engines. Sonia firmly believes those days are long gone. Overly intricate business plans often deter people from ever getting started, and the idea that you need to stick to a script can stifle innovation and keep you from applying creative solutions when obstacles come your way. There's no such thing as a perfect plan. Likewise, there's no such thing as a perfect time to start working on your business. What you can do is apply a simple 4-step method to refine your idea. The first step is to identify your problem. What are you trying to solve? Whose problem is it? And what bothers you about it? Let's stop and think about that for a moment. Okay, so you've taken a moment to think about your problem. Now it's time for step 2, brainstorming solutions. Mind mapping is great for this. It's just a method of generating ideas. All you need to do is set a timer. I like to set 20 minutes for myself. Then, quickly jot down all possible solutions to your problem, no matter how unrealistic or silly. It's quantity over quality here. Once the timer's up, go over your list and pick 2 or 3 of the best ideas. On to step 3. Time to create a quick and dirty business plan. For this step, you can use Lean Canvas. It's a free online template for people who want to avoid writing long and boring business plans that no one's ever going to read. You'll be able to lay out the most important elements you'll need to consider when starting your business in a simple one-page template. These elements could be things like your unique value proposition, which is the primary reason a customer should choose you over a competitor. Once you've fleshed out that plan, you can move forward to the final step, step 4, determining whether your solution is actually a good one. Does it need any work? Should it be scrapped entirely? This step is best tackled with fresh eyes. Take a step away from what you've written for a while and come back to it. Sometimes things can make more sense when we've given our minds a rest. This is a lot to think about already. Are you feeling exhausted or exhilarated? Because either way, you should give yourself a pat on the back for getting this far. Ultimately, entrepreneurship is all about convincing people to buy what you have to offer. This means that, aside from having a clear idea for your business, you need to know exactly who your target audience is. This is where your customer persona comes in, a rough sketch of the kind of person who needs the solution you're offering. To create one, grab a blank page and place an example photo of the typical customer you envision in the middle. Then around that picture, write details about who they are, what's their socioeconomic status, educational background, what are their social media habits, what are their motivations, that sort of stuff. Keep in mind that your version of your ideal customer can always change. When Sonia first started her business, she thought her customer was going to be somebody who looked like her, a 20-something-year-old woman. Instead, over time, she discovered that her ideal customer was actually anyone living through similar experiences, regardless of whether or not they identified as a woman. You too may find yourself with a slightly different customer base than you'd initially expected. That's perfectly normal, but for now, it's important